Good morning. This is lesson 6 for Friday the 4th. Sorry that I didn't get this in yesterday, but our internet here at the school has been kind of touch and go, so I wasn't able to record my video, and then it was out again this morning, so it makes it a little hard to do virtual school. So today's lesson is basically going to be a writing lesson, and you're going to do a paragraph on Google Classroom. So we're working up to next week when we will be doing a thesis and a body paragraph for an AP prompt, and that will be sort of our final assessment for this unit that we're in on rhetorical situations. So today's goal is to identify claims and evidence. We've already been talking about claims, and we've already talked some about evidence. You annotated that JFK prompt, and one of the things I asked you to look for was evidence whenever you were thinking about things like logos, but then also you might have been annotating some evidence for the other appeals as well. And then write a paragraph with a topic, sentence, evidence, and commentary. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about as far as topic, sentences, evidence, and commentary. And then I'm going to let you just take the rest of the time to do some writing. And so I'm going to toggle over to an example. Okay, so this is from an AP prompt, and I've already highlighted it to show you what I'm talking about. So this is from an argumentative prompt. This is from a synthesis question. The synthesis question for our exam is the source-based question. So it has a few similarities with the DBQ because you're given sources to use to support your response. And this was from a couple of years ago. The prompt is at the top. So it says, defend, challenge, or qualify the notion that eminent domain is productive and beneficial. Eminent domain is just the power that the government has to seize land or property for the public good. So for instance, maybe a highway would come through a town and there are people who own property that is necessary for that highway to be built. And so the government can tell them, even if you don't want to sell it, you're going to sell it to us. We're going to give you this, we're supposed to be giving you a fair market price for that land. And so eminent domain is used a lot for infrastructure building, and it can also be used to promote economic renewal. And so it can be quite controversial, especially in, I think, bigger cities. You see it a little bit more than maybe in communities of our size. So this is a person who basically was making an argument on that exam that the eminent domain was not productive and beneficial. So that was, what their thesis said. So there's a main claim for an entire essay, and that's your thesis statement. But then you should also have supporting claims. So those would be your topic sentences. So I have the topic sentence, the claim of the paragraph in red. I have the evidence in green, and I have the commentary in yellow. So the evidence is, specific information that you're using to support your response. So it could be from source material, it could be from a text. If you're writing about text, it could be quotes, it could be paraphrases. In this case, it's coming from sources. And then the commentary is what connects your evidence to the topic sentence. And the topic sentence should be connected to the thesis. So you need this kind of, connection through all of those. So whenever you're reading something, you want to see that there is a clear line of reasoning between the thesis, the topic sentences, and the commentary. So this paragraph says, people are meant to receive just compensation when their property is taken away, but this process is often more unjust than just. So making a claim in the second part of that sentence. Laws should apply to all people equally, but this one applies only to a select few. So this kind of leads us into this first piece of evidence. When Mr. Stubbleton thought that the proposed compensation for his property was too low, a jury reassessed its value at $558,625, source F. So that's a piece of evidence. The judicial process worked in his favor. However, not everyone is that fortunate. So if this paragraph ended after fortunate, so if I just, put a period here and went on to a new paragraph, that would be a case of insufficient evidence, right? Because that example does not sufficiently prove or doesn't at all prove the point that this process is often more unjust than just, because that actually is a situation where it actually was just, right? Because he went to trial and he actually got a ruling in his favor. But now we have another piece of evidence. So when Ms. Kelo sued after the NLDC drove her out of her home, the Supreme Court ruled against her. Both people questioned the process and both received starkly different results. A law is inherently unfair if it helps some and harms others. So that second piece of evidence is what really does help prove the point that eminent domain can be unfairly applied. And so some people get justice from it and some people do not. Okay, I wanted to show you an example of a claim and evidence from one of our texts. This is the Mary Fisher speech where she's talking about the AIDS virus. So I've just taken a paragraph and highlighted it in the same way. When you're looking particularly, the format that I just showed you is kind of the typical format, right? Where you have a topic sentence, you have a piece of evidence, you have some commentary, you have another piece of evidence, you have some more commentary, and you want to make sure that your commentary is sufficient. I think that that's something that can really hurt students when they're writing, is not having sufficient commentary. Here you see that this doesn't follow just exactly that same pattern, but essentially it does. So it starts with a claim. This is not a distant threat, it is a present danger. So she's talking about the HIV, AIDS, and she's talking about it spreading. And she says, the rate of infection is increasing fastest among women and children. Largely unknown a decade ago, AIDS is the third leading killer of young adult Americans today, but it won't be third for long because unlike other diseases, this one travels. So those three sentences are all providing evidence. And then she says, adolescents don't give each other cancer or heart disease because they believe they are in love, but HIV is different and we have helped it along. We have killed each other with our ignorance, our prejudice, and our silence. So she's giving some commentary there and trying to kind of link the evidence to the claim. All right, so the assignment that you're going to be doing today that I'm posting on Classroom is you're going to be writing a paragraph. So you're going to have a topic sentence. So you're going to start with a claim, and then you're going to include some evidence and some commentary. And this is the prompt that you'll be writing to, and you'll also have this on Google Classroom. So it says, in a well-written paragraph, identify one claim in Obama's speech, I guess I should have said Obama's eulogy, and two pieces of evidence, and explain how those pieces of evidence relate to his claim. So your topic sentence is going to be where you say, in his eulogy for Clemente Pinckney, Obama, and then you state a claim, claims that, and then you're going to give pieces of evidence that he uses. So one piece of evidence he uses to support this claim is, and then you're going to explain how those pieces of evidence relate to his claim. So you're going to have a claim sentence, so the sentence that I would have highlighted in red. You're going to have at least two pieces of evidence, so the sentences that I would have highlighted in green, and then you should additionally have commentary on each piece of evidence, so those sentences that I would have highlighted in yellow. So that's your assignment for today. This will be 20 points, and I'll be scoring it based on both your understanding of claim and evidence as well, and your thinking about that, as well as your writing. So you should be thinking about transitioning well. You should be thinking about using clear word choice, and also thinking about how you can edit for correct grammar, things like that. So all of the conventions of good writing that you have been taught in your other English classes.